Hello, I'm Michael Vosberg from North Dakota State University. I appreciate your interest in the salience of face size and affect. My study was meant to explore a possible boundary condition in exemplification theory. This theory, proposed by Dolph Zillman, studies news messages where exemplars are used to represent phenomena. He says that photographs make exemplars more memorable, but not in every study. In this study, Zillman et al. Used this image to represent safety, and this image to represent a threat. But the study presented most puzzling findings, as the safety image proved far more memorable than the threat image. In fact, the threat image was identified less than random chance would predict. I believe the reason for this lies in an important difference between these two images. However, this difference is poorly theorized, so if you will indulge me in a bit of folk theory. Images that include faces have affective content which communicate many different emotions, both negative and positive. This affective content contributes to what may be described as impact, which is also mediated by relative face size as well as total image size. The photograph also has salience, which is mediated by scale, immediacy, relevance, and novelty. Images are also presented within a context, which is mediated by content, relevance, and design. So a basic model of communication with a photograph includes impact, salience, and context. What is noteworthy here is that I have located fear as a function of affect and impact, whereas Zillman et al. Manipulate fear as a function of a photograph's context. The difference between these two conceptualizations lies in what is communicated by the human face. According to Underaga et al., faces communicate aggressiveness, leadership skills, genetic quality, physical strength, social status, sexual orientation, intelligence, and even reproductive health. Also, emotion has been shown to be a powerful mediator of communication. This has been done in numerous studies. As illustrated by my folk theory, it is faces, not context, which communicate the most compelling emotional messages. So with this assumption, I hoped to establish face size and affect as variables that contribute to salience. I also hoped to establish viewing time as a valid measure of salience. In exploring the effects of face size, I hypothesized that face size will positively affect viewing time, and that face size will positively affect salience. In exploring the effects of face affect, I hypothesized that images with negative or positive affect will show increased viewing time over images with a neutral face affect, and that images with negative or positive affect will increase salience over images with neutral affect. This was tested with a 3x3 design, which showed images with 3 different face sizes in 3 different emotional valences, and included 3 different examples of each of the 9 test conditions. My participants were recruited via email invitation. 442 people responded to this invitation, but 68 responses were discarded to control for effects of race or novelty of the test media. Respondents ranged from 18 to 68 years of age, with the majority reporting as female. Data collection was done using an online survey hosted by Qualtrics, where participants gave informed consent before viewing black and white images sized to 290 by 290 pixels to avoid scrolling the image on a small screen. The 9 test conditions were displayed in random order. Only one of 3 sizes of the test media were presented, so all images were novel to the participants. After freely viewing, participants responded to 3 scales: a Likert scale for how negative or positive was the picture, a Likert scale for how interesting was the picture, and a Likert scale for how important is the picture. The test media included 3 negative, 3 neutral, and 3 faces of positive affect, which had these reported valence values. The statistical analysis of these data included testing size and affect against time, interest, and importance. Linear regression was performed, which yielded these results. Face size was not shown to be a factor in viewing time, reported interest, or image importance. However, face affect was shown to have significant though small effects on all 3 measures. In reviewing the study's hypotheses, the first hypothesis, that face size will positively affect viewing time, was not supported. Even though the results were statistically significant, the effect was too small to claim a relationship. The second hypothesis, that face size will affect salience, was also not supported. In reviewing face affect, hypothesis 3 was not supported. Though the effect was small, results were opposite of the prediction. Hypothesis 4 was supported. Affect increased reported salience as measured by reported interest and importance. The study goals were partially achieved, though face size did not affect viewing time or salience. Photographs with faces of positive and negative affect did show higher salience than faces of neutral affect, and there was a slight increase of viewing time of faces with a neutral affect. So why did variation in face size have no effects? One possible explanation is that all the images were large enough to read well. The fact that neutral images were viewed longer than highly valenced images suggests that images were viewed only long enough to read. Perhaps ambiguity is what is really influencing viewing time. Another possible explanation is that all the images were too small to show size effects. The largest face in this study had an eye width of just 80 pixels. Though this was large enough to read, perhaps greater variations in size would show larger effects. However, in studying face affect, faces with positive and negative affect have greater reports of interest and importance. The lack of time effects supports the conclusion that images are viewed only long enough to read them, even when they are considered interesting and important. This study does suggest some needs for future research. One would be to study a larger variation in face size. Another would be to confirm that viewing time is irrelevant to an image's salience. And it demonstrates the need for a general scale to measure salience. I hope you found this presentation useful, and I appreciate your comments and questions.